Hey everyone. Hey, hi. It's me, it's Jeff, and welcome to another glorious episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. I'm Jeff, and I have cool friends. I kind of blew it on that one. I just kind of said the name and then tried to explain that. Anyway, I have a very cool friend with me today. If you follow me on social media, then you will be very familiar with this person's work, as they are the ones that drew my, is it avatar? Are we still saying is it Avi? Is it profile picture? I don't know, but he's the artist that did it. He's one of my very, very good friends and one of my favorite people on the whole planet, Dave Perillo. Dave, hi.
Hi.
Don't talk to me.
That was like a Jerry Lewis kind of hi. Hello.
Hello, lady.
Laven.
Dave, we go back kind of a ways.
So far back.
Almost 15 years.
Yes.
That's so
yes.
we're old, is what I'm saying. Is we're old boys.
It's crazy.
I met you at the same time as when I met Tom Whalen and you, Tom Whalen, Scott Derby. I met you guys all at Wizard World Philly. I think we believe the consensus was 2007.
Yeah, I think so, because I think I started doing Philly in 2005. I think was my first time there.
Yeah, I was there at 2005. Yeah. I just didn't like you.
Cross paths,
and instantly we became good buds because I like the pictures you do. Mm-hmm. You do good pictures. We've had this weird threading, including a very, very strange story where one of my very good friends who lived out in LA back when I was in Massachusetts was a huge fan of yours, to the point where when she came home for Christmas, brought a piece of your art from California to Massachusetts to give me for Christmas. And I started laughing when I opened it, and she got like a little offended for a split second until I had to explain to her that, like, oh no, this is my friend in Pennsylvania. It's actually,
the surprise was ruined.
It is. It's a Wild Stallions piece, and I don't know if you can see, but it is hanging. It is hanging right next to me when I record. It is a Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey inspired piece that I believe was picked up at Gallery 1988.
Yep.
In beautiful Hollywood, California. That's a lie. It's not beautiful. Dave, how are you?
Good.
What's new? What's new? What's going on with you?
Lots of work, lots of projects, which is good. Things are picking up.
You certainly do a lot of projects.
A lot of projects. Probably too many.
You have a house, so I would say that that's probably a good amount of projects to take on.
Yes.
Because you have a house.
Yeah.
And so I think you bought a lot of that house with pictures that you drew.
Yeah, most of it. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And the other half was modeling.
I get it. No, you are a very sexy man. We're also both wearing classic gaming clothing right there. You're wearing a Joust, a Midway Classics arcade Joust, and I am wearing a Streets of Rage jacket. So we are of our own generations.
I think 50% of my T-shirts are classic arcade.
That's fair. You're not wrong about having that information available, and I do that too. Do you get a lot of crap from the people in your life when they're like, maybe you should dress like an adult, and you're like, I don't?
Nah, because I think they think I'm just special, so they're like, he's wearing another T-shirt with a cartoon character on it. Isn't he cute? I
think it softens my look.
Yeah,
I have to do it because I'm like, I need people to know that I'm not going to harm them.
Yeah,
I feel like if I have a cartoon on my chest, people will be like, he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, nobody was ever murdered by somebody wearing a Bart Simpson T-shirt.
No, that's not true. You've done official Simpsons art.
I have, yes.
You did for it was at Acme Archives.
Yeah, I still do stuff. Yeah, still do the Simpsons stuff for them occasionally.
Who's your favorite Simpsons character?
It would be Kirk Van Houten.
You're like, can I borrow a feeling? Yeah. Is that because you kind of look like Kirk Van Houten?
I think it might be. I kind of gravitate towards characters I think I look like Bert and Kirk Van Houten.
Geez, who would I be then on The Simpsons? Would it be Snake? Oh,
you could be Snake. Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that, or maybe just like
Troy McClure. I think more of a Troy McClure.
Maybe Jose Canseco in that episode with the baseball players. You are a very accomplished artist. I could start naming off all your credits, but one of the things that I am very very fascinated by is that you are also you have found yourself a Wonderground gallery artist for Disney, as well as you do a lot of like merch stuff with them now, which is great. I've had a surprisingly large amount of official Disney artists on this show.
Oh,
I had Jared Mariama on
I think I've
before.
heard of him.
Yeah, I've Chris Uminga.
Oh yeah, I know. I heard of him.
He's and you
Me.
never heard of him.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to see some of the cool that you do, and one of the fun things that you do is you sneak your family into a lot of these pieces. Is that right?
I do. Yeah.
Is that something you had to get permission for?
I never did. I just kind of did it, and then see if it flew, and nobody ever said anything to me, so I just keep doing it.
You just keep doing that? That's pretty fun.
I think a lot of the other artists they would have trouble doing it because they don't. I do like the ride attraction posters, like so like either there has to be like sometimes people on the rides, and why not have those people be me and my family?
Yeah, you couldn't do like a Chewbacca one, and then you're just like you and your family are just like in the bandolier.
Yeah, that'd be a little strange. Yeah,
that'd be awesome though.
It would be. Yeah,
you should just do that.
Figure like the little bandolier strap where you could carry the action figure.
Yeah, you could carry the.
Thought was a very lame toy.
A real thing to make for George to be like, this is what we got to do.
This is what we gave the thumbs up for. But there was a lot of that though.
Yeah. Well, it was funny too. Like, I'm assuming you've seen the Toys That Made Us.
Oh yes.
And when they talk about like all the Star Trek toys, and they just found toys and just put Star Trek labels on them.
Oh yeah, and that helmet, the helmet with the flashing light. The funny thing about that, you've seen that.
Oh yeah.
Right? So that actually made it into the Lower Decks cartoon, Star Trek Lower Decks show.
Of course.
They shoved it in a closet, and they opened up the closet, and that thing fell out. And it's like, now that is actually Star Trek canon.
Lower Decks, I've only gotten a couple episodes in. It's something that, I've been a little too busy to watch, but everything I've heard of and seen from it seems to think that it's a very fun and irreverent way to view the Star Trek universe.
It is, and it does some deep Star Trek cuts. Like if you're a fan of things, like it's very much for Star Trek fans. So
you're a big Star Trek fan?
I am, yeah.
So
I used to go to the conventions.
The last episode I had on with Jennifer Muro, she's a writer for Prodigy.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Prodigy yet.
Oh, so you're just like a bad person.
I keep hearing it's good. That's the one on Nickelodeon, right?
You're the one on Nickelodeon. Roasted.
Ooh, toasty over here.
The last time I saw you was we were at the Providence Place Mall in August of, was it last year? Was it 2020? 2021? What was last year?
It was July. It was July.
It was something around there. But I happened to be at home, and now normally where I'm from, where you're from, it's 5 hours apart. We're not really going to see each other unless I'm like going to drive out to Philly to do a show or something. But you happened to be in my neighborhood. We went to the Providence Place Mall, shopped around, took photos of stuff that Tom Whalen's art was on and gave him the thumbs down and just pranked him a whole lot. And then we just spent about an hour and a half talking about I Think You Should Leave sketches.
Mm-hmm. And then I jumped your car.
That's where you jumped my cousin's car. Yeah.
That's right.
And then I went and bought him a new battery. Oh. And I told my aunt that it was literally the least that I could do because rental cars were like $1,000 a week at the time. They were so out of control. No, there are no rental cars anymore.
Yeah.
Every time I go home, I'm like, I need to find a car or I am screwed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my car was all stalled out, and then you gave me a jump, and we talked more about I Think You Should Leave. Mm-hmm. That's all we want. That's all I ask.
That's it. That's the depth of our friendship.
Can I be honest though? That was a highlight of my trip. Was just hanging out in a mall, laughing my off, talking about like Coffin Flop or something like that. Yeah. See, just thinking about it now, you start laughing.
I know he's hilarious. I started digging around and finding other things he's done. Like I found he was on a show called Characters.
Oh yeah, he's on him. Yeah, he's had some great stuff. And then
it was like the best episode of that. I think.
And Detroiters.
The Detroiters is hilarious. Yeah.
So, one of the things that I really love about you is that you really do lean into your sort of like fun, goofy nature, like your nerddom. You lean into it, I'd say, as heavily, if not more, than most artists that I know.
Mhm.
And I find that really refreshing that you don't you make no apologies for enjoying the things that you like. And I think a lot of people tend to sort of put a lot of their nerd stuff on the back shelf.
Yeah.
You collect some interesting stuff.
Yes.
What are you a collector of?
I have, well, probably the most interesting thing is the vintage metal lunchbox collection. So, the old lunchboxes that kids used to carry around from 1985 and anything before that, because they stopped making them in 1985.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a fun fact. I don't know if you know, do you know what the last metal lunchbox was ever put into production?
I would love to know. Let's see, 1985.
Yeah.
The last metal lunchbox, 1985. Is it, it's probably going to be something obscure, but I'm really going to try to date it specifically and be like, is it like Mr. T?
No, they never actually did a metal lunchbox for me. They had an 18 metal lunchbox for Mr. T. But the reason why they stopped making them was where kids were whacking each other with them.
No, it makes sense why they went off the market. They're weapons.
And the irony behind the last one going off the market was it was for Rambo, an R-rated Sylvester Stallone action movie. Which was super violent.
I love. There's an interesting thing about because I used to teach a unit about Reagan era America. And one of the things that was the most fascinating aspect of it is how adult movies were marketed towards children because of deregulation. They would, like, every R-rated movie you can think of that was even remotely popular got like a cartoon and a toy line.
Like Commando.
Yep, toy line for Commando.
Yeah.
There's Rambo had a cartoon and it had a toy line. And by the way, one of the toys came with like a little rubber whip, and my brother used to whip the shit out of me with that thing. It was like a real whip.
Yeah.
It was just to scale.
Yeah.
Like it was a 6th scale whip, and he would just whip me with that son of a.
Yeah.
I think I bit it in half because I was sick of getting whipped with it.
It might still be in your digestive tract then. You could be somewhere in your body as half of a whip.
Yeah, and just I'd poop it out like a little tail. It's a little whip tail.
It's a tapeworm. It's not a tapeworm. It's a Rambo whip.
Yeah, that is very funny though. That could you imagine going to? I remember I must have been in like 3rd grade or something, and I wore a Nightmare on Elm Street 4 T-shirt, and I got in trouble. Because
I always think it's funny when you see at Halloween kids dressed up as like Chucky and like little kids. This year I was walking around, there was a couple little kids dressed as Pennywise the Clown, and I'm like, these are straight up horror movies. Why are kids dressed up as maniacs?
It's mild child abuse, I think, because it's like it's one of those things where you're like, okay, well the parents did this.
Yeah, well, Freddy Krueger's really an odd one too for little kids, because it's like, do they molest themselves?
That's one of the ones I never really understood. I mean, I get why the movies are popular, but the character of Freddy being so popular, it's like he's a child molesting murderer.
I know.
Like, I know he does some good bits.
Yeah.
But even then, his comedy's not that great. He's kind of a hack. But I'm like, that guy's like a child molester.
Right.
Make a toy of him.
It's like the Cosby of the 80s. Oh, that's the Cosby. That's actually.
It's fair. It is weird to think about like the popularity of, because like horror movies for me, like I'm not a huge fan of the genre. Like I'll watch a good horror movie every once in a while, but like I'm not one of these people that's like voracious for them. Yeah. I don't feel bad if I missed out on them. I've never seen a Conjuring. That feels good.
That's a unique fandom, the horror crowd. I feel like they're the last bastion of, they love everything. You know what I mean? Like I don't hear horror when you go to these like horror conventions and the horror fans are there. They're not complaining that Insidious 3 was a total sellout.
I mean, there still is toxicity in the fan bases, that does happen, but you're right that they're just so, it's funny because it's a group of people that I feel like have always felt like outcasts. I mean, the joke I used to make is that horror fans are horror fans because they like seeing the cool people get murdered.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, people are having sex and then they get killed. No wonder you like that movie. But now that the internet and social media has made every group become this sort of like amorphous blob, I feel like nerds aren't nerds anymore because they all found their tribe. Like everybody's found their team to get behind, and horror fans are right there.
Well, horror fans have always been a close knit group. I feel like they, you know, you go to those horror conventions, they all fit a certain mold, and you know,
hey, mold is right.
I think, you know, there's people like, I enjoy horror movies. I don't know if I would put myself in the same category as the fandom of horror movies, you know, but I do like horror movies.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Ooh. It's probably either Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween.
Yeah, that's boring.
Yeah, I know.
Those are boring answers. I thought you were going to say something really fun.
You see, that's the thing. If I was like a horror fan, I'd be like, it's just, you know, I like, and then I would name some like Italian horror movie that you never heard of.
Yeah, right.
Where there's maggots, some Fulci thing. I just, you know, I like my 80s horror. I like 80s stuff. So if it like landed in the 80s, it's like.
You like stuff from when you were young.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to unpack, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I think a lot about horror, and I think about like all the movies that people try to get me to love, and I just don't like them. That, like Evil Dead 2. Everybody's like, you have to see Evil Dead 2. It's the best. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I was like, oh no, you gave me a different movie because this isn't the best.
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, and it's like Sam Raimi, obviously he's cut his teeth a lot and made quite a name for himself and everything like that. But also like, I'm kind of sitting there just being like, am I supposed to be really into this? Cause I'm not.
Right.
Are you an Evil Dead fan?
I like that stuff. I think it's funny. I like the character Ash. I think he's, you know, I like Army of Darkness.
I like Army of Darkness more.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
But I guess that's more to my, like Army of Darkness isn't really horror. Army of Darkness is more of like a sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's really fun. You do a lot of, like, most of your artwork is pop culture. If not all, really. I mean, you've done some things, I'm sure, outside of that, but not that I'm aware of.
Well, I just did an Eagles poster this year. That's
like the football team.
Yes, not the band.
How does that happen?
They looked for local Philadelphia area artists to do. They had an artist poster series, and they reached out to me and Tom Whalen. We both got to do them this year, and that was pretty much it. They were just looking for artists that were local to the Philadelphia area that they made. We got to do a poster for the game that was that week, and then they gave them out at the game.
Did they give you tickets to the game?
No, not exactly. I got into the game. I was allowed to stand and watch the game. I did not have seats. So
wow, that's so nice of them.
It was very nice of them.
What? When was that? What was the date of the game?
Oh, that was in December too. So it was nice.
Oh, that's like getting a $5 Applebee's gift card.
Yeah,
you're just like, well, now I just have to go to an uncomfortable place.
Yeah, needless to say, I left at halftime, so I wasn't about to. Yeah. Endure any more cold.
You're the smartest Eagles fan I know.
Yeah.
But that was pretty fun.
That wasn't pop culture. That's something different.
Yeah, that's fun. Did they I mean, they pay you for that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering if it was one of those things where like a multi-billion-dollar franchise is going to be like, we're taking submissions, and you're like, no.
For exposure anymore.
Same.
Yeah. I don't think anybody really should do that.
I've had that happen recently where somebody asked me to cover something for them. They were in a bind and they needed somebody to do an interview for them. And he was like, oh, I'm backed up against the wall. Could you do this for me? And I was like, yeah, man, no problem. And it ended up being about 4 hours of work because I had to do research and I had to get stuff right and ready. And then I had to get up early and, you know, I had to sign on to the Zoom for the press junket and stuff like that. And this is a person that I really love, but I forgot to ask if I was paid.
Yeah.
And Afterwards, it was like, oh, sorry, it's not. And I was like, don't worry about it. It's my bad for not asking.
Right.
Future reference, I don't work for free.
Yeah.
Not because I'm being a about it, but because my time now, with all the work that I do, my time is too valuable. I don't have any free time.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take 4 hours out of a 24-hour period, you're going to pay for that.
Right.
And he tried to pay me too. And I'm like, don't. Like out of pocket, you know? And I was like, no, that's not going to work.
Like you're paying for this right now for me. Like this is, what am I making off this?
That is true. You don't even want to know. The answer is about as much as I am.
Fair enough.
But that being said, I mean, you've got a lot of stuff that I forget what the name of the art show is. The big one,
the Festival of the Arts.
Yes, I mean that just wrapped, right?
This is the last weekend.
Okay, and so which means that it just finished up from when this goes up. People don't know that.
Yes.
So now you had some pieces in there. Is that correct?
I did 4 things for that.
Tell me about those 4 things.
Well, like I said earlier, I do like the attraction posters. So every year I try and pick different attractions. I sometimes pick obscure ones that are no longer with us. That have closed down. People seem to like the defunct rides. So this year I did one for Maelstrom, which was in Norway, which was a Norwegian boat ride that they then have converted to a Frozen ride. For obvious reasons, you know, Frozen's very popular. They're going to stick a Frozen ride in Norway.
Was that like the log flume?
It sort of was like it wasn't like a log flume. It was like a boat ride, but it had a neat feature. It had a backwards drop, but it wasn't a big drop. It kind of like sent you backwards on a boat, which was, I don't think I've ever seen any other ride do it.
The Mummy does that. The Mummy ride at Universal, but it's more of like you're on more like a coaster more than a boat. But like they have you ride up and then you see the Mummy, scary, and then you just go backwards the same way you just came.
Okay.
It's Val's favorite ride, and I'm like, I hate this.
Yeah, I haven't been to Universal in forever.
I'm a big Universal guy.
Yeah.
Disney to me is just too expensive and too much of a drive for me.
Oh, absolutely. It's outrageous. I don't know how people afford it. People love it. I'm fortunate because I do these posters that, I get to go to the parks and bring my family and they get to experience it. But, it is very expensive. And that's part of the reason why I don't get to Universals, because I'm already there doing Disney stuff. And then it's like, well, I don't have time to go to Universal too. But one of these days, I haven't seen the Harry Potter and
I was a gold member at I had a gold pass.
Oh, is that what they call it at Universal? The annual pass?
Yeah, the annual passes. You could get like the silver, which is like the regular one, but the gold one has like free parking and like you get 15% off of food and stuff in the park. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, well, and less blackout dates. Yeah. And I'm like, well, it, man, if I'm going to pay $150 or whatever for something, if I pay $300 and I can do it more and get money back and not have to pay for parking, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
That being
if I live close to a park, I would do that. I just don't have, my closest theme park near me is Great Adventure. I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's not
so. Out to get an annual pass to Six Flags Great Adventure.
Yeah, that seems like that's just you're just going to watch like gross teens making out.
Yeah, that's not a good place.
Yeah. The Disney adults thing I always find interesting. Like I have a lot of friends that are Disney adults and I'm always like, hey, why? What?
It might be that. It might go with that thing. It's they grew up with it. So now it goes back to that. And I think our generation has this fondness for our youth more so than I think previous generations. I'm not sure exactly why, but I guess we didn't have to go through a war.
I saw a tweet from my friend Joe Starr did a tweet and I would like to summarize. I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's basically like this generation's kids are going to grow up hating pop culture and they're going to save us all because we have such this like Arrested Development because of how sort of the world turned out. I think that we're just like, well, I'm going to get some toys still. Yeah. I'm 40 with toys because what else? What else am I going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you had Maelstrom. What else?
Spaceship Earth, the big golf ball. That's in the center.
Oh, that's the big Epcot piece.
Yeah, yep.
The center. Okay.
The Tower of Terror.
Ooh,
which was interesting because I like that ride because the Twilight Zone theming to it.
Mm-hmm.
They took that away from the California.
No, it's Guardians of the Galaxy now, right?
Now Guardians, which is also a good ride. It's a cool ride.
It's like, isn't it like the same ride?
It's the same operation of the ride. They just rethemed it. So
yes, it's the same ride.
It's the same ride. Yeah.
That's a pretty semantic way to try to correct me.
Well,
you're like, well, it's not the same because there's like a raccoon.
They did actually change the way the ride works too, because Tower of Terror is a straight drop, and Guardians is more of a bounce. If that makes sense. It bounces you more than just drops you in, like, which I enjoy. I enjoy bouncing more than dropping.
I went on Tower of Terror when I was 16? It was 1998. I went on Tower of Terror, and I went on it once and was like, I don't ever need to do this again. Like, that wasn't, as soon as they opened the door, I was like,
yeah, I don't like to free fall. I don't like that feeling, but I love the Twilight Zone aspect of it because I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. That I just want to see all the cool Twilight Zone stuff, and then I hate the part where they drop you to your.
Was there any licensing problems with doing a Twilight Zone themed piece like that?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to actually put Twilight Zone on the piece, so it just says the Hollywood Tower Hotel because you have to, because then they don't want to. If they put Twilight Zone on there, they have to.
They have to pay the family of Rod Serling or whatever.
Yeah, so it wasn't too big of a deal. I just rework it. They're pretty cool with how you do stuff. The Wonderground, they let you do almost whatever. The only things that come up is something like that, where if there's Twilight Zone on it, you can't use Twilight Zone.
You telling me about it? I saw Chewbacca on Cloud City with a bowcaster in a painting at Wonderground, and I was like, he didn't have that on Cloud City. He had a blaster rifle on Cloud City. I don't know why I got so angry at that, but I got so angry when I saw that. I was like, what the actual
wow.
He doesn't have it there.
No.
Do your research, man.
I'm surprised you didn't get called out on that.
He's got C-3PO in the net on his back. Yeah, he's in like the droid.
Stormtrooper
yeah. And he's holding the bowcaster. Mm-hmm. And I was just, I seethed when I saw that. Because it was more whoever was in charge of, like, I guess being like the editor or whatever. Like, I don't know, like whoever does approval. Because usually Lucasfilm's really on it.
They're really on it. They usually are. I'm surprised because I've done things for them and they pick on the smallest little details. Like if there's like a wrong amount of lines on a Stormtrooper helmet, they call me out on it. So I'm surprised that actually flew. So,
it's the scandal of the century right here.
The bowcast. Maybe he went back to Cloud City to get revenge.
And exploded C-3PO while he was there?
He took apart C-3PO again.
Why are you doing this? Oh, what's the Chewbacca? Let go of me, you furry oaf. Just tearing him apart. So what was the last one? What was the fourth one?
Orange Bird.
Orange Bird.
The Orange Bird, very popular Orange Bird.
That is a very popular. Is that a ride?
No, Orange Bird was created in the 70s for the Florida by Disney for the Florida Orange Grower Association, whatever, the orange farmers in Florida. They decided to team up with Disney and create a cute little character. Orange Bird was their spokesperson. They also had a former Miss America. I think it was like Anita something. I don't know. But she then in the late 70s, early 80s started going on tirades about anti-gay speak, and then the Orange Bird disappeared.
He sure did.
He went away super fast.
Yeah.
The whole program disappeared, and then it wasn't till in the 2000s, I believe, in Tokyo Disney, because Tokyo loves cute things, and they dug up Orange Bird and started using them there. Super popular.
What's that? Is it kawaii? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, they love their cute. That's why Jared does all that cute stuff.
Oh yeah, Jared kills it.
Yeah. So that's why Orange Bird kind of made a comeback, and now he's back again. And again, it's one of those things like it was people remember from their past, and now it's back again.
It's very kitschy.
Yes.
It's like avocado colored appliances.
Yes.
It's just like, it's something that's very reminiscent of when people grew up. One of your pieces actually ended up being turned into a little statue.
Oh yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The Walt and Mickey hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
How'd that go? How does that happen?
They, I did the artwork. It was supposed to be for the 65th anniversary of Disneyland. I did the artwork for that. The 65th anniversary obviously did not happen. It was during COVID.
I mean, it happened. It just wasn't.
Just nobody celebrated it. But so the artwork didn't actually get used, but they already had the vinyl in production because they saw it on the art. They said, let's turn it into a vinyl thing. It's kind of a homage to the statue that's in the center of Disneyland and Disney World. When you walk in, there's a partner statue with Walt and Mickey. So that's my interpretation of it. It was cool.
It's pretty rad. You also did a pair of mouse ears.
I did. Yeah.
Mickey tickling the ivories and playing a drum.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that you got to like submit for, or they hit you up because they had been working with you already?
They hit me up. They were doing a whole designer ear series for different artists were supposed to do them. So Jared did one, Shag did one. I think the plan was to have a bunch of artists, but I think it's kind of fizzled out. So luckily I got mine in before it fizzled.
So Shag is one of your, like, a big influence on you, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So what was that must have been like to sort of be, holding hands?
That's wild because I remember that's kind of got me started in the whole doing pop culture art, because like I originally, like in high school and stuff like that, wanted to draw comics. I thought it'd be cool to be a comic book artist and try and draw like Todd McFarlane.
Yeah. We all wanted to do that, right?
Yeah. So, but then I wasn't that good at it. And then, I started reading like more independent comics and like Jim Mahfood and stuff like that,
Oh yeah, he's great.
Stuff. And I'm like, well, I can draw more like that. And then I wandered into a gallery in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and I remember seeing Shag stuff for the first time. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. These like acrylic paintings. It's very like tiki-esque, like tropical, these bright colors. I'm like, I'm going to try and start doing stuff like that. So then I started doing little acrylic paintings similar to Shag, with fun little monsters and goofy, weird things like that, and selling them at a gallery in Philly. And then I started just doing more and more. Like I started doing digital stuff, and that's when I started getting into the more pop culture stuff and doing the prints and going to the shows.
Well, because when I met you, you were selling mostly 3x5, small 3x5 prints of individual characters, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, a cool thing, by the way, I don't know if you do this, Dave, but one of the things is if you're listening to this for free, thank you. I appreciate your ears. If you're listening to this on the Patreon, thank you way more, because while I appreciate your ears, I also appreciate your money a whole lot. And if you sign up at patreon.com/Jeff May for the $10 producer tier, there's a cool thing where I say your name. That's it. That's what I do. But we say your name on this show, and then we can talk about those names if we want. We get to talk about it. So, Dave, I'm going to read you off some producer names, and you can react however you want.
All right.
So I'd like to thank Ricky Cilantro. I'd like to thank Big Booty Boy for 2069. Nice. Shout out to the most well-prepared dead guy. Jumping rope, still a sport. Jeff not liking it, still a fact. That's a lie. Big Bad Bollock, Jennifer Fendelander at AV Foundry. Shout out to Patrick Dorr, Bart Fardigan, a Steven riding the Sawblade skiff from Highlander 2. That's a great move, Steven. Shout out to Huey, Nerd Numbers, Magnolia Thunder. Yeah, they'll do that sometime.
You earned that one.
It's really, I've debased myself for a very small amount of money. Andrew, I put producer on my resume, McGuire. Rudy, jerks hate cool films, Rueda. Also, you're going to notice a lot of JHCF acronyms here because
Jeff has cool friends.
There it is. Jeff hates competitive fun. That's not true. I like sports. These products, services, and plugs are brought to you by Rad Mummy and listeners like you. Kool-Aid Molotov is ready for the revolution. Jared Ron. Bartholomew Martinez, the fartiest of Martys. Funky J, show me in the rules where it says a dog can't play basketball. Gray Man of the Nightmare Potluck, everyone is welcome at the table. Jeff using Deep Blue Sea memes to break bad news. I did do that once. Tyler Wilgus, asking 7. Kimball, the casual Frankenstein. Earl of Slander. Steven, nicely played, Steven, but the game's not over yet. I have 2 Stevens at war in the producer doc that I have. There are 2 people that want to go by just Steven, and now they're having a feud. And I got to be honest, I love it. I absolutely.
Steven on Steven, yeah.
It's Steven on Steven violence.
Is it a PH versus V situation?
Nope, it's a 2 PHs. Mr. Billy Beck and Cody Beck, a married couple that both donate. You guys should be more like them. Mike Gouts, Lisa McCarty at Comics Book Girl, comics with an X and Earl with a U. Just Pivo, Dr. DNA, Dr. Video, the scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt dies. I'm never going to have a history podcast, you little so stop asking. By the way, I have recently received a lot of guff about that because I was just on Behind the Bastards, which is technically a history podcast. And so people were saying that I lied, but that's not my podcast. That's someone else's. Yeah. Mackenzie, Sisyphus may be happy, but he's into CrossFit. So him, chill. I never thought of Sisyphus as being happy, but maybe I just never read the story. And I'm just remembering what I've seen in like Red Bull commercials and Instagram and Twitter's at Bob_of_skull. You know him.
I know Bob.
You know Bob. Bob works he works your table at cons.
He does.
I met him.
Bob the Goon.
I met him through you actually, and now look what's happened.
He's like a virus.
The best kind of virus, the one that gives me money. Yeah. Jeff has candy in his pockets. That's not true. I have it on the table over there. It's Cadbury mini egg season, baby.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
You know. Shout out to Lemming Malloy, Norm from Cheers. Extra shout out to Norm from Cheers because he's the guy that finds all the swears and lets me know where they are. Turds. And then he lets me know when to bleep them out. Shout out to Burrito Mouth. A big hey you to holy at ZTP Whiskey on Instagram.
You're making them work.
Wouldn't that be great if I just swore this entire time? Shout out to Taurus Bulba. You no. Hey, can I borrow your copy of The Iron Giant? Children love the meat Millie. Kelly says, get your booster, you gaslighting dip turds. Who's the master? Show enough. Shout out to Lisa Harden, Jessica Robertson, Silius Ruby. My name is Jeff May, and this is not a Patreon name. This is a truthful confession that I do not like sports. The Digital Phil. Shout out to Bruce made Terry fight Superman before he got him karate lessons. You're a Batman Beyond fan, right? You recently did a Batman Beyond piece, right?
Yeah. Do
you have any more of those?
I do have some of them.
I'll have to buy one of those from you. I'm gonna buy one of those. You could, by the way, everybody, you should definitely check that out. We'll talk more about that later. I don't need to plug your stuff in the middle of the podcast. But shout out to Jolly Buckaroo. Shout out to the ghost of Dave Thomas, Aaron Meyer. Go to at El Celdo on Twitter and look at my new puppy, or go to Celdo. Tony Stewart killed a guy is a t-shirt you could make for remarkably cheap on the internet. Tony Stewart killed a guy. It was me, Jeff. I've been giving you $10 a month since the beginning so you could afford more gas station Pop-Tarts, keeping you sluggish. Just slow enough for me to kill Iris. Oh, excuse me, steal Christmas. Cronenberger Meisterburger. Shout out to Werth Clawful. Shout out to 3 Jacob Tremblays in a trench coat sneaking into an R-rated movie. Shout out to my man Parker Aylesworth. Shout out to Christy Salinas. And of course, an extra special shout out to the kitchen scene in Jurassic Park is why you shouldn't get lever door handles. Again, if you want me to read off your name, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May. Sign up for the $10 producer tier, and I'll do that. And maybe I'll curse during your name. Tits. Crap boobs crap. But yeah, so you've when I was looking, because you're kind of, and this is not to be this is not to say it in a negative way, you're all over the place. Like your work is found in so many different places through so many different galleries. What's the best way for people to sort of have access to your work?
Ooh, I probably on my like Instagram, and then I usually have a link to my shop, whatever. But I'm lazy with my shop because I don't know. I got to get better at that. It's always like keeping stuff in stock. But
Is that because you're just not good at the technical aspect of the stuff, or
it's more of a having the time to. Oh, my guinea pig is weaking behind me.
is that what that sound is?
Do you hear that?
I did hear it.
Yeah, he's been chewing on the bars, and it's driving me crazy.
They'll do that.
Get his daily carrot. Yeah, so it's the shipping, it's the packing, it's all that rigmarole of just managing a shop that is not fun.
You should have done the Timothy Doyle thing and just to hire someone to do it at this point in time.
I know I need a small labor force that would. Yeah,
that's why you have kids, man.
I know. That's what Tom does with his kids. He's got like a little sweatshop in his basement, rolling posters, packing pins. That's what I need to do.
Those pins, man.
Yeah.
He got in with those Mondo pins, and he was just like, what if I do the entire Marvel universe? And they're like, that sounds like the best idea we've ever heard.
He likes things that he can stretch out, and he finds a little.
Well, that's brilliant.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Like Power Rangers toys,
That is wild. Mm-hmm. That he just was like, yeah, I guess I'm the Power Rangers toy artist guy.
Yeah, you get on that train.
It's so funny. He not that this show is about him, but I was at a store and I saw that Universal has their had Halloween decoration stuff and with the Universal monsters, and the artwork looks just like his. And I was like, "Oh my God, did you do this?" He's like, "No."
Oh yeah.
They took that from me.
They approached him and then realized it'd be cheaper just to rip him off.
They approached him, had him come up with ideas, right? Or whatever. And then they just had an in-house artist just steal his work. That is wild to me. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's the dark side of the art world, where it's the I don't know.
That's why
somebody walked in, and it's not even the artist's fault. They were given a bunch of Tom's artwork and said, "Can you copy this?" And they're like, "Oh, okay."
I don't know.
I'll do it for you.
Yeah. That has to be a little bit like shady when you have like a job and a family to feed, and they're like, "Hey, can you steal this?"
Yeah.
And you're like,
They don't, but they probably don't say it that way. They probably say, "We want you to recreate this style. We like this style."
Yeah.
I've seen it on like full blown movie posters where they're using photographs, but they obviously looked at Tom's layouts and borrowed them heavily.
Which is weird because he's so unlikable.
Well, that's probably why they do it, because
nobody's going to take his side.
No.
There's a fun story at a convention where you guys found somebody bootlegging your art.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? How does that feel?
Yeah, icky.
Like, what's that feel like?
It's like, then you gotta like have a confrontation with the person and be like, and then they're all like, oh, well, they just have this huge database of stuff they just print out on like 11 by 17 sheets of paper, stick them in those sleeves and sell them at conventions, and they don't think anything of it. Like everything they sell is a bootleg. It's just like you kind of got like lumped into an internet search, and then they just print it out. So it was kind of cool because we went over to Wizard World, and one of the good things they've done, not from the shows, like they actually went over and had our back and told the guy he's got to pull the stuff, and then the guy's like, okay, I'll pull it, and then we actually took it from him. So we left with it, and then we just tore it all up. So that was a good feeling.
It's so wild that Wizards like, you have to pull these specific things you got caught bootlegging.
Yeah, I mean, his entire booth shouldn't be there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Yeah, like, have a nice day. Yeah, that is a weird aspect of bootlegging, that sort of thing, where it's very uncomfortable to be faced with it and to think, I've probably contributed to that. I've probably bought some of those, like a $5 print, and you're just like, oh, this was a mistake.
Yeah, it's the it's the nature of the beast. I don't let it bother me too much. Like people will send me links to things like on websites. They're using your artwork on this, and it's like I don't have the time to police all that. So it's like I thank them. I say I appreciate you're looking out for me. But the whole process on some of those websites to have them remove it is such a hassle, and they must do it on purpose because they know that you're just going to get frustrated and give up. That sometimes I don't bother, like eBay, and if you see them on
Yeah. Yeah, that has got to be an interesting form of frustration because the thing is my art form is not collectible. My art form doesn't appreciate in value. Mine is there's a very sort of like Zen existence to podcasting, where you just kind of put it out into the ether and then it just goes.
Yeah,
and
I guess the equivalent for you would be if you do your stand-up comedy, and if somebody was to steal your jokes, is kind of it's your intellectual property, it's your ideas, that someone takes and then just tries to use it for their own.
Yeah,
which is
it's happened to me once where somebody took something directly from me and I threatened them.
Yeah.
And then they never did that again. It's one of the benefits
but that's got to be tough for some comedians. It's like, what are you going to do if you're I guess not to be sexist or anything like that, but if you're a small woman and
I'd kill myself.
Guy just steals your material, you're a good comedian, and something like you're going to go over and be like confront them, and they're going to be like, I ain't, what are you going to do about it? Who is the police to stop them?
That's when I have
the intimidation factor there, Jeff.
That's when I'm like, call me. I'll say something.
Yeah.
What am I going to do about it? I'm going to break your arm.
Right.
It does feel good to sort of threaten people when they do wrong. Obviously physical violence and the threat of violence, it's not great, but also at the same time, it's great when you can harness it for good.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be nice if the police could do that. I want to go back to your collection, your lunchbox collection. How many do you have?
I probably have about 60 or 70 of them.
That's kind of a lot, right? Yeah.
It is a lot for that because they're not the smallest things. It's not like 60 Pez dispensers,
Yeah, that's gonna say that's gonna take up some space, right?
Yeah, there's some shelves in my basement area, my man cave with them on there.
Do you have a man cave? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just
my setup. It's my toys, and it's like it looks like behind you right now. If this is, I know this is audio, but I'm seeing visual and I can see. Yeah.
Oh no, So I have this my recording area just has all sorts of cool which is awesome. But my recording area is also my dining room in my house that I live in. My roommate's super cool about me recording in the dining room. So she's just like, you can do whatever you want with this. And I feel really lucky about that because there is definitely this aspect where you do hear about sometimes in a marriage, one partner tends to take control over what's being the common areas are going to be used as, and they kind of have that it's a normal house. And then if you go down in the basement, you'll see where there's fun.
Yeah. I don't think it's so much like that here, but that's always just kind of been, because I have so much stuff. I mean, I'm sure you're aware, when you have so many collectibles, you need a large area to put your tiny little people in.
Yeah.
It display.
I've tried to tone down my collecting, and then I've honed it more and gotten rid of a bunch of stuff. I got rid of a bunch of Sideshow stuff that I had because I was like, I don't need this. But now I'm getting into other things. I'm getting into Science Patrol, his vinyl, his vinyl pieces. I really like those. I never had any of them before. And then I met him and started to be like, oh, this is awesome. And now it's just now I have another hobby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or bootleg toys. I like to collect now vintage Masters of the Universe on package. Because I just really like the way the card looks, the packaging
I'm
looks.
Into I like, there's a lot of guys now doing custom toys that are throwbacks to retro lines.
Oh yeah.
So there's a guy making He-Man style figures of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon characters.
See, that's
like
I love that
description for the and like I have like I love Clash of the Titans. I have the whole Clash of the Titans collection. I have custom figures from that to like expand the line. Like that stuff, I get such a thrill out of.
You should come out to Designer Con. I'm offended you haven't.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found is like that the new form of bootleg toys, which is like high-end bootlegs. And I did, because you were talking about that, and I did want to grab that I recently picked one up, and it is Yak Face. It's Yak Face, but he's dressed up like the 1989 Fleer Billy Ripken face baseball card.
That is awesome.
And
I love that. I love it.
It's on like a Star Wars sized card, but it's a starting lineup print.
Oh yeah.
And it's got him. They did a little trading card in there of him holding the bat, and it says Yak Face on it instead of Fuck Face.
Yeah, that is great.
And that to me, I saw that, and I think it was like $40 or something like that.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I was like, that's worth it for me.
Yeah.
Like that's 100% worth it for me to pay to, like, because if you pay for art, sometimes like a piece of art that size is going to be $40 anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing. People it's funny because people buy my posters and they collect them. There's a lot of art collectors, and I don't particularly collect art. I collect I'm way into toys and retro throwback stuff like that. That's the stuff I collect. I got
this Super 7 doing their reaction line. They did a Santa Claus Optimus Prime.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And vintage toys and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Huge. That's huge for me. And then
I'm not a big fan of the Star Wars ones they do. I like the Christmas Star Wars ones.
Christmas Star Wars.
They've been putting out them. I think 2 years now. They did the Christmas Star Wars figures where they had like Chewbacca and he was white like an abominable snowman, and the stormtroopers dressed up as like in Santa Claus colors.
Oh, you don't like that?
I think that it could be done better. Like that Optimus looks good. I like that. But
well, who's making those Christmas ones?
Hasbro.
Is it Hasbro? Yeah, that's on them. Yeah, because Super 7 always does a great job.
Yeah.
I have a bootleg Vader.
Oh, that's cool.
And the card was done by Attack Peter Santa Maria.
That's great, yeah.
And so he ended up giving me one of those. So now I've it's weird that I started to pare down my collections and then just started to find new things that I'm collecting. Mm-hmm. It's such it's clearly a problem.
Well, yeah.
Like it's clearly an addiction for collecting, like hoarding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I totally get it. Yeah. I'm on board. Yeah. I guess it could be worse. You could be doing heroin.
That's true. I lost
or gambling or something like that.
Ironically, I lost a lot of toys to somebody with a heroin addiction that stole them from me and sold them.
There is a wonderful book by James Gunn called The Toy Collector, which is about a guy who sells heroin to feed his ever-growing Japanese robot toy collection.
Oh.
It is a great book. It is, I don't know if it's in print anymore. It's probably 20 years old now. It was, back in his days when he was doing stuff for Troma. And
yeah, that's where he cut his teeth.
Yeah. So it was a funny book. It'd be cool if they turned into a movie, but it was an interesting story about this guy who starts selling heroin to buy Japanese robots, and he starts doing the heroin. And
are you a big Shogun Warriors fan? Were you?
Yeah. I one of my things that I had is from my youth was the Godzilla Shogun Warrior, and he is on my list of things I'd like to get back. But
Super 7 made.
I got yes.
I love it. Do you have him? Yeah.
Yes, that satisfied my itch, I think, because I don't know where I would put a full size one, and he is perfect.
So it's funny. I got that as a Christmas gift for Dana Gould, because he was talking about how he's he's obviously a big Godzilla fan and everything like that, but he also was talking about how he's I don't know if I have room for stuff anymore. I'm like, well, that is good then, because this takes up a small amount of space. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have him as well. I have that Shogun Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find him It's hard to find him complete.
Yes, and I was at I had just ordered that Super 7 one, and I went to a toy show, and somebody had one, and it was a decent price, and he was missing the tail. That was the only part that was missing.
That's easy. That's a no-brainer.
And I almost, but I had just bought that one, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, where would I put him? He's huge. So I didn't.
Yeah, he's what, like 2 feet tall? Maybe 2.5.
I don't know if he was that big. Maybe 1.5 feet.
Yeah,
he was pretty big.
18 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. How much was it?
$125.
Yeah, you should have gotten that.
I know, and but
was his tongue tab broken on the back?
The tongue tab was not broken. The only thing that was missing the tail, and the spring in the arm that shot the fist was broken. 2
easily fixable things.
I know.
That I'm offended. Is there like a Grail piece that you've always wanted that you are looking for still?
Yeah, it's the Clash of the Titans Kraken.
The Kraken?
It's
I saw one.
It keeps going up in value. It keeps going. Like I kept passing it up, going, I don't want to spend $300 on it. And now it's
it's like $1,000 now. Yeah,
it's crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. This is over the course of 10, 15 years. It's jumped up.
Yeah, that happens. Especially during the pandemic, collectibles went wild. I saw the Kraken this week. Or late last week. I went to I know a buddy who has a store called the Toy Depot. And I was up there and I saw the Kraken there, and I was like, "Oh shit." And he's like, "Yeah, I got the Kraken."
Was he selling the Kraken?
I think he was selling the Kraken.
Oh.
He had a clawful that was mint on card, and I recently got one, and it wasn't in the best of shape, but I was still almost tempted to buy it.
Oh, another one. You would buy a second one to have the better card?
I don't know. Like if it's
they start having a problem.
This is a problem. Yeah,
that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I have it in a good. I have it in graded and in a case, and I'm still like, what? I don't know.
But this card's better.
You know what? What I did buy though is I bought a poster insert of the Dragon Walker from He-Man, which is like my favorite vehicle, and I also have that. I also have that toy, and it was like a diagram of the Dragon Walker.
Oh.
But it was like a big poster sized, and I was like, all right, I'll take this.
Yeah.
I'll take that. There's some stuff I've found some cool shit in the wild recently. That's done okay. That's
my dream, is to find stuff like when you're I think it's such a rush if you find that like at a flea market or just somewhere where the person is not aware of what they have. And I've come across things like that. Like I got a Pac-Man phone in the box, never used, at a flea market for like $5.
Did you flip it, or do you still have it?
No, I still have it. I kept it. It works. It's a working Pac-Man phone from the 80s, and it was in the box that it came in. Never used.
Damn.
I have lunch boxes that have never been used with like the paperwork in them. Sometimes you just come across, like, I think lunch boxes is one of those easier things to find, and they haven't, unless you're going for certain ones, they haven't jumped up in crazy value.
Yeah.
To the point where you can't get them.
The plastic ones always smell like milk. They smell like old milk when you open them.
The plastic ones are bum me out because it's just like, it's only like it was like a sticker sometimes, and it was only on the front, and it's like, but then there's only certain properties that only got the plastic lunchbox treatment. Like there's no,
you're not going to get a metal. You're not going to get a metal Centurions. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yeah. It's funny too. Yeah, like when you look at finding stuff, I was at a comic shop, and in their dollar bin they had a Garbage Pail Kids the movie magazine.
Oh.
And that thing is worth like $130.
Oh, really?
And I paid $1 for it. And I didn't know it was worth anything. I just bought it because it was cool looking. It was in like perfect condition, Yeah. And I was just like, oh, I'll take that. And then later it's like, oh,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I found there was a Elvis Presley biography that was written. It's out of print, and it was like one of those like scandalous ones that came out like right after he died. And I forget the author. I have it, but it's worth a lot. And I found it at like one of those, like, I think a Goodwill or something for like $0.25. And it was like this hardback Elvis book. And I'm like, oh, I like Elvis biographies. And I took it home and I looked it up. I'm like, this is the one that came out like the same guy wrote another biography about somebody else. These like salacious biographies that came out that kind of exposed the person before, anybody knew all the dark secrets.
And then he killed them.
Yeah,
he would do that.
Well, this was like right after.
Yeah. He writes the book, then murders the person, then releases the book.
Then releases the book. Yeah.
It's the perfect thing you could possibly do. Is there a property or character that you prefer to draw or to create? Are they like, what are the things that you actually enjoy drawing? Because sometimes with artists, they're like, it's just a job for me now.
Yeah. I like doing the, I always like working on Star Wars stuff. The Disney stuff is a lot of fun.
Because you did Mandalorians, right?
Yeah, they were a bit tedious though, because I did it in such a realistic style that wasn't so much how I normally do things. I like when I can, I think I like it more when I can do things in my own style. It's not so much the property, because I like so much that it's hard to like when I do the shows at Gallery 88, it's like nobody's there art directing me, and I can do whatever I want. And if it fails, if nobody buys it, if that's on me, but at least I got to draw them exactly how I wanted to draw them. Nobody gave me notes.
Didn't your niece convince you to do Hamilton for one of yours, and then it was the first group that sold out?
Oh yeah. I've never even seen Hamilton. People were coming up and asking me questions about it, and I'm like, oh yeah. It's like, what's your favorite song? And I'm like, the one with the shot.
Yeah, they only got one shot.
Yeah, that was kind of like I needed to fill up the space on the sheet. I'm like, yeah, I'll throw it on there. It seems popular. So
that one made you a couple bucks doing that piece, huh?
Yeah.
With the Mandalorian, like, was it their direction that you had to do it more realistic, or was that your choice?
I think I started doing the first one like that, and then it just evolved into that. Like, then they're like, my plan was to do one, and then they're like, oh, let's do one for each episode, like the title cards. And I'm like, okay. And then it just kind of got very time consuming. And, that's when Lucasfilm was very particular about the way certain things looked,
Yeah, you couldn't give the Mandalorian a bowcaster.
No, there's no scene where Mandalorian's running down a hallway with disassembled protocol droid on his back.
and yet,
yes.
So, are there any pieces that you've done that you really consider to be like, if somebody needed to get your sort of pathos based entirely off of some of your art, are there pieces that you have where you're like, this speaks about me more than most? Like this, if you want to get Dave in one piece of art, it's this.
I don't know if there's one thing. I mean, I think the earlier Gallery 88 stuff is really that's how I like to draw. But then commercially, to make money, I had to adjust that. You have to like polish it a little bit more. So I enjoy the more interpretive things. I like drawing stuff maybe a little bit more abstract, if that makes sense. Like just more of my personality comes out in the style of the drawing in like some things. Than
remember
a lot of that's through Gallery 88, because it's like I can just kind of do whatever I want.
Remember when he did the Cinnamon Toast Crunch shrimp tail tweet, and then everybody blew up his spot about being kind of a dude, and you're just like, I remember when that happened, and I was just like, oh man, that's a lot going on. And I the stuff that I knew, I was like, people are gonna unwrap this more, and they're gonna be like, wow, this guy is married to Topanga.
Yeah,
that everybody's
it got crazier and crazier.
Yeah, like watching it unravel, but also knowing how it was going to unravel because of knowing the personal aspect of it. I was like, I can't wait for this to unravel. Yeah,
because that was like, most people don't know anything about that, and then it then became like a news, like a 15 minutes of fame news story kind of thing, where everybody's talking about it. And
yeah,
it was a bit on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you saw that. They actually did a bit about it, kind of.
Really, I think I missed that one.
Yeah, it was a combination of a bunch of different internet things kind of gone wrong.
Yeah,
it turned into like a prank show, like a web prank show that just went south, and somebody found fish fish bones in their cereal. That's how I was like, well, we know what that is.
Yeah. And then that person was then outed as being a
that's what it was.
piece
Basically, yeah. He's like, I found fish bones in my cereal, and then all this stuff comes out, and he had to make a public apology. And then
you got milkshake ducked. Yeah.
Yes, that was.
That's
the first time I even heard that after.
Oh, that was a tweet. I think it was from Krang T. Nelson, who did the tweet. Yes. That's just like, everybody loves milkshake duck, and then 20 minutes later, we are sad to announce that milkshake duck is a racist. Dave, you have a lot of really, really cool pieces. I have so much of your art. I have just a lot of it. I try to get some every time I see you, every time you're having a gallery show. I try to give you money for it whenever the opportunity presents itself. Sometimes you don't let me, but I appreciate all the stuff that you do. You are one of my favorite artists. You're a lot of people's favorite artist. You're like Sam Witwer. You're like one of Sam Witwer's favorite artists.
Yeah. That's wild because I met him at Pittsburgh Comic Con, and he's buying my artwork, and I'm like, I know you. I watch you on the TV.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah, you're the Darth Maul, man.
And then the weird connection with him too is because he's friends with a lot of the people that you're friends with.
He was a friend I inherited through my friend Laura Terry, who bought that, and who originally brought me that piece that I was like, oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
it's such a small world.
When you did a Muppets piece, and this is back when my ex-wife and I were pretty cool. You did a Muppets piece, and I tried to buy one off of you, and you sent me the piece and then the artist proof or the artist color, a different colorway. Yeah. And she took both of them.
Oh, not cool.
And the guy was just like, I can't have one. Have one of these.
That's half a Kraken's worth of posters.
Well, that's the thing is like I went looking because I was like, I really like that Muppet Show, and I went looking for it, and I was like, oh, I can't afford that now.
Yeah. I should just get rid of a couple of them and get myself the Kraken.
Honestly,
my own
do you not know that you literally print money? Does that not register with you?
Yeah.
Like you could do
sell my personal. I always keep like 2 of everything for myself. So.
Yeah, you should probably do that then. Yeah. And also, I know that this is weird, but like you could probably just if you wanted to look at it, you could just print one out for yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you do commissions, or are you too busy?
Sometimes I do the sketch commissions.
Yeah.
Like once a year.
Yeah. What's what is a rate for that? I'm always wondering what people charge for a like, what would it be if I wanted
$50 for like one little one character on a 5x7 is what I do. It's just kind of like
that's very affordable.
Yeah, I don't because I don't do it very often, and I just kind of offer it up. It's funny because I do it when I'm at the beach and I'm away from my computer for a week, and I can just sit at the beach house and draw, and that's kind of the plan behind that. So it's not like I want it interfering with like have it hanging over my head of people wanting commissions all the time. So
when do you go to the beach?
Usually in June. That's usually when the sketches go up. I do them in like a week in June.
I would think so. That kind of matches what you just said.
Yeah.
So you're on social media, you're Monty Gog. Why?
It was a cartoon character I came up with in 7th grade. It was a little man who lived in a trash can, and he had a collection of sea monkeys, and he had a little friend named Nacho who lived with him. It was a dumb comic that I came up with, and it just kind of stuck.
I love that you stuck with it because we both have like kind of like inaccessible handles on Twitter and Instagram because you're Monty Gog and I'm Hey There Jeffro. It would have been so much easier if we just did our names, and we didn't. You released you definitely produce a lot of stuff from your childhood. I know you did those like 70s PSA stickers.
Oh yeah, I just
like the McGruff,
I did a bunch of them recently. Yep.
McGruff and Smokey Bear and Woodsy Owl.
Mm-hmm.
And
I love Woodsy Owl. Yeah.
Woodsy Owl was terrifying because he was like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, you're gonna definitely put the trash in the trash can if you see him. I mean, an owl is a vicious creature that eats.
Because I remember I used to watch the PSAs and Woodsy Owl would show up and it would be somebody in a suit, obviously, but the suit was so huge that I was like, this thing is terrifying.
Yeah.
Dave, I've got to let you go, and unless you're a patron, and then people can stick around. We're going to have a little talk after that. But
And
Dave,
you know what? This might tease people for them to sign up for the Patreon, because I want to talk to you, and we'll do it after. I want to talk to you about
you have a question.
meatloaf.
Okay.
Because you have an interesting meatloaf story, and I have an interesting meatloaf story, and we need to discuss it because I saw yours and I was waiting to talk to you in person about it. So.
Well, this is it. This is the spot. Okay, so if you are a patron, stick around because Dave and I are going to share meatloaf stories. The man, not the food. Although it could be the food if you're freaky. Don't forget to check out Dave at Montygog, MONTYGOG on Twitter and Instagram, and also at DavePerilloArt.com, and that's Perillo, Perillo. Check out all the stuff. I know that you work with so many different galleries. Gallery 1988, you have stuff there. You work with Acme Archives. I'm like blanking out on some of them.
Gallery is another one.
You do Spoke Art Gallery. There, you did the sticker design for a print company that I saw, something club.
Plush Art Club.
Plush Art Club. You did
they do posters occasionally. Yeah.
I saw their sticker at my comic shop, and I was like, "Oh, that's Dave's art." Like I know your art now. Plush Art Club. You did their design, and they're cool. They're cool people. That do that. So that's pretty cool. For those of you that are listening and want to hear what else I've got going on, currently right now, you can hear me on Behind the Bastards, but you can also hear this and this show as well as Ugh Fine with Kim Krall over on the Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff May. You can also check out Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network, as well as You Don't Even Like Sports and Unpopular Opinion, both on the Unpops Network. I got a lot more stuff coming. I don't stop moving. I have more pods coming your way, so you're gonna want to check those out. Dave, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye to the people.
Goodbye to the people. Except for the patrons. We'll see you guys in a split second.
Are coming back.
Hey everyone, our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababan, and